in order to see what are the trends of maritime training today, it's a good idea to see, I think, what are the parameters that are affecting training nowadays. So, are they the same as they were in the past? Is there any difference? Do we have any changes in these parameters, in these things that affect maritime training? I think that we can sum up the most important ones in safety issues and human element, which has been greatly discussed in our last panel and also in the previous ones. New technology, this has also been touched upon, all the new equipment, new tendencies, the use of internet and things like that. And of course, the complexity of regulations, which has also been addressed. And there's a long list of new requirements and requirements coming up every day. And most of us know of quite a few that will be required from us in the coming months. So everybody needs to be updated on that. I would think that these three parameters are not really new. They have been with us for a very long time, but maybe not in the same context as nowadays, especially the last two. So, I think I've done it the other way around, sorry. Yeah, so for the first one, safety issues and human element. Those of you who were here in the beginning of today and heard Mr. Belokas's presentation, you might recall this slide, the first one. It is true that accidents, the trend in accidents keeps rising up. Although we have stringent regulations, although we have so many requirements, no matter what we do, accidents tend to rise. And the figures here are from 1990 to 2012. And they come from various studies. They were presented in our first joint DNV GL magazine, Maritime Impact. I guess most of you must have already received it. They show this trend, and it seems that the offshore supply part of the maritime industry is doing much better. This is partly due to the fact that the regulations there are much stringent than in the maritime industry, in the rest of the maritime industry, meaning all the rest of the ship types. And this has seemed to pay. So you can see in the right diagram there, the blue line showing almost a constant or a bit declining trend of accidents, while the trend in the ship types, all of ship types, seems to rise. Yeah. And then again, there's also the issue of fatalities in shipping. There are also several studies that report that there are about 900 crew and passenger fatalities per year. This is a very large number of fatalities. And almost all of them seem to be either due to occupational or ship-related factors, and that the ratio between them is 50%. I mean, 50% occupational accidents and 50% ship-related accidents. The statistics say that we have 6 crew fatalities per 100 million work hours. That might seem like a small number, but if we compare that to shore-based industry, we will find out that working in shipping is 10 times more hazardous than working in the shore industry. So this number for shore industries is 0.6 crew fatalities per 1 million or 100 million work hours. So we need to find a way to make our industry safer. everything in shipping relating to accidents, risk, and things like that come from aviation. But aviation seems to be doing a lot better regarding risk management and reporting and actually the number of accidents and incidents. And this is mainly because there is a different attitude in aviation. ISM has given us this no-blame culture, or has asked us to apply this no-blame culture, or the just blame culture, the just culture, as we say in the last couple of years, mainly regarding incident reporting and near misses. This doesn't seem to be working very well for our industry. People do not believe that they will not be blamed if they report an incident or a near miss. And this is not the good way to go. This is not the way forward. We need to change that in order to take the feedback we need from this reporting and find recommendations and find the way that we need to change our procedures in order to make our industry safer. So this is something to learn from the aviation part. They are doing it, and so should shipping. So I think that there is a study from the World Maritime University where they studied 41 incidents, casualty investigations. And it seemed that in almost all 41 cases, although the investigation started, it never really was concluded, and there were never really actual findings, not to mention recommendations or changes in procedures. So what we need to do to improve our safety record is to evaluate and assess preconditions and contributing factors of human behavior and performance, and to report every single incident in order to get these recommendations and avoid severe consequences of casualties and incidents. If we do that, then we will help ourselves to design appropriate procedures and training in order to help. A second parameter of safety issues and human element is, I think, the variety of nationalities that we have on board the same ship. This is a report and a study from the University of Turku, and actually it involves ships in Scandinavia, but I couldn't find a similar one for our part of the world. It doesn't matter because the figures are almost the same if we change the nationalities of the people. It seems that they investigated 453 ships where there were 2,500 officers and 3,500 crew members. And in these 453 ships, they found that there were over three nationalities in over 120 of them. So and then 4 nationalities in over 60 of them, and so on. So you see that in the large majority of ships, there were more than 3 nationalities on board ship. This by itself creates issues that need to be dealt with and that we need to take care of. And mainly this is done by training. The same study shows that as long as officers were concerned, there was a great part, over 15%, I think it's about 70% of the officers were Finnish. They were Finnish ships. The amount would be, I would guess, the same for Greek officers on board Greek ships, or maybe a bit more. There were Filipino officers, Russians, Ukrainians, Polish, Estonians, Dutch, Swedish, German, and other. So you see a great variety. If we go, this is for officers. If we go to crews, then you will see that the vast majority of crew members, almost half of them on all these ships, were Filipino. And then there were also Finnish, Russian, and other crew nationalities as well. So this is just to give you an overview of what is going on in crews, regarding crews on board ships today. It's the same, I think, for all European flags as well. So now, if we just to check up on the second parameter regarding new technology, then we would need to discuss communications. And communications, by communications, I mean the use of cell phones, the easy access that we have on computers, Skype, FaceTime, all these things. The use of internet also adds up to the previous point, and then we also have all these applications through internet. You have already heard about it by other speakers before me. Social networks, people, especially young people, tend to, keep in touch. And then they like to be connected with family, friends. They have their timelines, pictures. They share their everyday life. And these abilities and these things that we can use give a new picture to how the ship can be run regarding crew. The complexity of regulations. Well, you see a very complex picture here. IMO, European Union, class, the industry itself, like BIMCO or ICS, flags, port states, other organizations, they all add up to what we are called to deal with regarding regulations and requirements. You have heard from our speakers from the US that US is not keen on following the general trend, and they want to have their own regulations. So this adds up to the complexity of things. There are so many things that we need to take care of. So here is a list and many more. So let's try and just finalize with trends as discussed. Social learning is one trend. You will see that Facebook and LinkedIn have dedicated groups where maritime knowledge is discussed and shared. I have just pointed out here 3 of them. The LinkedIn MET group, which is the network for education and training. Maritime Wiki is the Wikipedia for the maritime industry, and the International Maritime Mentoring Community is actually a network where you can mentor or seek mentoring from professionals regarding maritime issues. So this is one thing. The second is that because of all these needs that are particular to each company or each person, we tend now to have more structured and specific training. Open seminars are no longer so much in demand as much as the in-house courses. But in order to do that, we need to have what I've discussed in the beginning of my presentation, which is the feedback from the industry. So we need the incidents, we need the reporting in order to customize, to be specific on the training that we offer. And this is an advantage for the people because they can do training on their job, on the equipment they are using, on the specific type of vessels they are running in their company. There are many advantages to this structured way. The third trend that I can identify is e-learning. 2 minutes, just 1 minute. E-learning. E-learning has been used and by many organizations. We also offer an e-learning on energy efficiency as DNV GL. But there is a risk here. One needs to find the balance. E-learning is good, has many benefits. One is that the seafarer can do it in his free time, in her free time, maybe even on board, while it covers also the lack of trainers, of well-qualified trainers in the shipping industry. But nothing can substitute the classroom training. So we need to find a balance. We need to remember that nothing can substitute classroom, person-to-person training, and that persons tend to become impatient, passive, and not use their imagination when they are in front of a computer for a long time. Don't forget that people from CEOs and top management of companies like Apple and Microsoft, even Steve Jobs himself, they do not send their kids to schools who use electronic means. They send their children to schools in Silicon Valley where they don't use computers, and that should say something to all of us. The last trend is the focus on non-technical skills. And by this, we mean communication, teamwork, and leadership. Communication is not, by that, we don't mean what Mrs. Kalogeratu, of course, discussed. We mean the communication between crews, the language difference, the habits, the different ways of living. By teamwork, we mean the way a team should work, and of course, by leadership, we mean the qualities that a leader should have, and there are places into the maritime profession where one needs to be a leader, and one of them is, of course, the captain. So these three things need to be taken care of. And, of course, learning is something that we will never stop doing because life never stops teaching. We in DNV GL have a long portfolio of courses. We cover most of these things. So we would be glad to see you. Thank you very much.